the current rule is that you must reside in the home on January 1st of the year of application. I just learned yesterday that when we had the elections, Texas recently passed a law that now says you can reside in the home any day of the application. However, I do not know when that goes into effect. So for the time being, I think we should stick with the idea that, yes, apply. Don't hold back from applying if you've just moved in or whatever. But that is it's currently changing. You can only have one homestead exemption per person. So the idea of it is that this is your home, this is where you reside. If you, for instance, rent the property out to other people, you get a partial homestead exemption if you also live there. You must have a valid Texas ID or driver's license. This is the catch. It has to have the address of the home that you're trying to file for on the ID. And if you're single or married, you can apply to, you may be eligible to apply online. So that's answered that online question. And so the benefits are pretty substantial. Immediately, you would get a $25,000 reduction in market value for your school tax. So just super zoom out, the way it's broken out is you get a value of your home, and then you have a bunch of jurisdictions. So you've got the hospital, school, county, and wherever you are. And all of Jubilee has the same 5 or 6 jurisdictions. So the school tax, Dallas Independent School District, adds an additional 10% to this $25,000 reduction in market values. So the idea is that the way that you're taxed through Dallas Independent School District, your value is 25% plus an additional 10% lower than it would have been. So your taxes for your school are much lower because your value is lower. You get a 20% reduction in all of the other taxes. And then once it's in place, the appraisal district can only increase the taxable value of your property by 10%. They can increase the market value of your home. They can say your house is worth $1 million and it went up $800,000 or whatever, but the amount you pay will only be 10% higher than what you paid last year. That's when the homestead exemption is in place, and that's why it's so important here, because the value of this neighborhood is increasing. But if we get that homestead exemption in, people will not pay more than 10%. If you file a homestead exemption on a home that you have lived in for more than 1 year, you can get a refund for up to a year of the previous taxes. So you don't have to do anything. You just file your homestead exemption. It gets to the tax assessor collector, and then they will send you a refund for the prior year difference. So money comes back to you, which is super nice.
That's very nice.
And then you want to make sure that you check your homestead exemption status every year. If you make improvements, if you change your house substantially and they find out, then you could lose it and you might have to apply for it again because your value will have gone up so much. So this is an example. Your home market value jumps from $25,000 to $100,000 in a year. This could definitely happen. Your homestead exemption would only require you to pay 10% more each year, which means your capped value will only be $27,500, not $100,000. So you will only pay taxes on this amount, minus other exemptions, not the $100,000. So your taxable value is $27,500. Your market value is $100,000. That's why they're very different in Texas, because of these exemptions. And so if it keeps going up to 10% each year, it's going to take you quite a long time to reach $100,000. So it's why it's so beneficial. I'm not going to go into all the super math, but this is an example of what you would see online. That let me see if I can zoom in. What you'll see online, and I'll show you an example. You'll have your market value. And this is a Jubilee house from a couple of years ago. You'll have your market value, value of your improvement, that's your house, value of your land, total market value. That's the amount the appraisal district thinks they can sell your house for, or you can sell your house for. The capped value is the value based on the exemption. That's $116,000, significantly less. And so what that does is you can see a difference in the numbers. That homestead exemption reduced your value by $23,390. So it helps to, so you've got, that $116,000 minus $23,390, that's your taxable values. That's what you pay taxes on. A lot of numbers. Are we good? We're good? Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's an example of what it looks like online and how you can see what the benefits of your exemption are doing and exactly how they're benefiting you. So, and then that's how you would calculate your taxes. You'd find out your tax rate. Tax rates are on the top row, tax rate per $100. You multiply it by your taxable value, and that's how you get your taxes for each jurisdiction. Dallas ISD, Dallas County, Community College, and the hospital. So those are Jubilee neighborhood jurisdictions in this area. So that's how you calculate your taxes. You add all those up, and there you go. If those were based on, this is without the homestead exemption.
Huh.
Well, the $35.99 is what your taxes would have been without the homestead exemption, and it's $23, so about $1,000. And it obviously shifts depending on the value of your home. So this is the example. Homestead exemption saved them $1,200. What I think could be useful is practicing looking up somebody's home. So I can show you how to do that, and then show you how to download a tailor-made homestead exemption form specifically for that homeowner. If they have a computer and they want to do it in the office, they always can do a generic sheet whenever they want, same form. The only difference is one is kind of got a barcode specific to that homeowner. It's much less likely to get lost or misread when you've got a scannable barcode. So let's go to, so the website is dcad.org, I think. I usually just type in dcad and it works. Nope, it's dcad.com or dcad. Yeah. So it's just type in dcad. It's dallascad.org. So that's the Dallas Central Appraisal District. You will go to search appraisals. And now you have a searching mechanism. You can choose any different kind of search parameter. So
let's do a house.
Okay, so we go to street address.
Yep.
Okay,
let's try 4528 Ash Lane.
Okay, so I type in 4528 here.
And then Ash.
And then just the word Ash. I don't type in lane. Correct. I don't type in drive. Okay. Yep, there we go.
And the city?
Nope, don't have to worry about it. Unless there's a 4528 Ash in another city as well, then you'll get two options. So here we go. So it's right there. So let's just first see, you can see if they have a homestead exemption.
Husband and wife.
So their house was reevaluated in 2021. Husband and wife, 50-50 ownership. They're both on the deed. This gives a little information on their home.
There you go.
Yeah, and it looks as though they do not have a homestead exemption. And the way I can tell is because their taxable value is $154,360. There's not a line for exemptions. Like I was showing before, there would be. And that's the market value here. So if they had an exemption, they would have a capped value up there, and then they would show the exemptions down here. So this is great. We should, their current taxes are $4,000. So what you would do, so also it says here, no exemptions. So what you would do is you would go up, and there's a little form. It says print homestead exemption form right there. So you print it, and it will show you a barcode with their name, address, information. Now it's not filled out, but it's got a quick scanny barcode thing, so it's going to be easy for them to process it relatively. Then you would just download it or print it. And then I've got an example. Let's go through this form. So, first thing is, if the mailing address shown above is incorrect and you need to change it, please check this box. 9 out of 10 times that's going to be, we're not going to have to worry about that. Let me see if I can download this real quick, and then I can open it, and it will be, if the mailing address is correct but does not match the property address, please explain why. So that's, I mean, these are just sort of individual issues. Step 2, do you own the property for which you were seeking an exemption? Yes, even if you're still paying a mortgage on it, you own it. Does more than one person own the property? Well, in this case, yes, because it's 50-50 ownership between a husband and wife. Please indicate marital ownership status. So you would just select married couple. There are a couple of other options here. I would probably assume that single or married would probably be the most common. Single adult is, also common, just depends. And then there's surviving spouse. So there are a couple of other things we could go down, little rabbit holes, but for now, we'll keep going on. So you would just check general residence homestead exemption. If the owner is also over 65, you get additional exemptions. Super important. So check over 65 if the homeowner is over 65. Other things apply if you're a disabled person. This means basically if you are unable to perform work because of a mental or physical disability. And then age 55 or older surviving spouse of an individual who qualified for age 65 or older. So if the surviving spouse of someone who owned the house, if the person who owned the house was over 65, if they are over 55 and they are a surviving spouse, I believe they can continue to get this homestead exemption and other exemptions. So attach copy of driver's license and Texas ID card with the spouse death certificate. The go-to is the driver's license, but if you happen to not have one and you have a Texas ID card, either one will be fine. Late filing of residence homestead exemption for prior years. So this is if you lived there in previous years, you would just check this and write the year that you are claiming. On what date did you begin occupying your principal residence? How many acres do you occupy as part of your principal residence? Well, I think you can just write the number of acres that are shown on your DCAD appraisal form, which I can show you. It's just the amount of land, I think. I think it's kind of it might apply for bigger properties, potentially. Are you claiming an exemption on another property or your previous residence? So this is like, if you moved, but you're claiming homestead exemption on a prior property that you used to live in. You can click that. I actually did that once. It's a little bit more complicated. On January 1, did you occupy and claim this property as your primary residence but were temporarily away? That is okay. That's a thing you can do. You just click yes, and then you explain, when you intend to return and why. Why are you away? Oh, this is the, was your residence less than 100% complete? That's that question which we answered. It's okay if it is. If you were living there, it's great. It's fine. But you'll need a utility bill. This is the part where it says, was any portion of your property used for rental purposes or not occupied? So basically you would just list the square footage of the house that was used for rental purposes. So you would eventually get a percentage of homestead exemption. Is this cooperative housing? I don't believe there's any cooperative housing in this area. Last asks, are you a resident of a facility providing services? So are you living in like a hospice care place? Are you living in like a nursing home? That kind of thing. Or providing health services. And these are other very specific exceptions and anomalies. So, for instance, do you have an ID card that doesn't show your address because of your line of work, like I think it's, under the transportation code for peace officers who have omitted the residence address in lieu of a courthouse address. So, you know, there are other ways of getting a homestead exemption if your address is not on your ID. So then it just goes into attach a copy of your driver's license. They don't say this, but I know this from experience, they prefer color copies. They don't like black or white. They want to be able to make absolute certain that it's the person living there. I don't know why they like color copies, but and then it goes into heir properties, over 65 heir properties. You just need, and then manufactured homes. So basically for the heirs and all these other ones, you've got affidavits that you'll need to get notarized. So if you have a trust or whatever, you just need to find a notary and they'll notarize it saying you own this property through this trust. So those attachments are on the next page. And then you just fill in your driver's license, your date of birth, your phone number, your email, and you sign it. And then you're done. Like, it's pretty straightforward. These are the affidavits. So over 65. Yeah, so these are just places for notaries to fill out and sign. Manufactured home, which I don't think there are any over here, and then affidavit for heir property. So
I think we're definitely going to run into that one.
what, the heir property?
Yeah.
Okay, then then this affidavit is here. You will just have to get it notarized and attach it with your application.
Okay, so they need to get this form notarized.
Just the affidavits, the form itself does not need to be notarized.
Okay.
The like exceptions to all these, like the over 65, the heir properties, those would need to.
Okay.
And they have, on the last couple pages, they have both an English and Spanish an explanation in case any of this gets lost. Currently, the deadline to file for a homestead exemption is April 30th.